to the Student Voice podcast. Today we'll be discussing how ICE affects our community. I'm your host, Alize, and I'm here with my co-host,
Isabel.
And we have our guest, Miss Metcalfe. So today, our first question is, what is your experience teaching in our community been like?
So I've been teaching in the community for about 17 years. I previously taught at Anaheim High School, and now I'm at Magnolia High School. And my experience has been really good. So the families have always been very supportive, hardworking, willing to, help out when things come up. And I feel like I've learned about my culture a lot personally through working with them. Yeah, there's hard times working in any job, and there's going to be, things we see pop up in all communities. But I think that overall, this community has a lot of strengths. So I really enjoyed it.
Can you elaborate on if you feel ICE has its focus on the right thing?
So just want to refer back to this idea of like strengths, right? So and what I see in my students' families and my students is that, they are willing to do all of the hard work. They're very dedicated. They want to do better, especially, if they're immigrated to the country. And so I think when I see the families, I see good. And so it's really hard for me to see them going through deportation or the students coming in. So for me, it's really hard to see it focused on my students and their family. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling about that in your community? Do you feel like families are fairly affected?
In my community, I feel like they aren't really focused on the right people. They kind of target the people that aren't really doing bad, I would say.
How do you guys see your community? Like, what strengths do you guys think your community has?
I think our community is probably just caring and trusting. Like, everyone talks to each other. So when operations like that are going on, it separates them. How would you say ICE deportations have affected local businesses?
I think one of the things I've noticed is when I'm driving into work, I can see that sometimes there's like lots where there's only one or two shops and they're kind of empty or they're not a lot of business. So I would assume that, businesses are losing customers and maybe they're having to close because maybe they're actually directly affected. So probably not very helpful to the community.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Next question is, how can our community address the effect that ICE deportations have had on people's mental health?
So the mental health challenges I see are in my students, obviously, and in their families. I know that our schools and in our community, that we have a lot of resources. So if we think about our community schools and the people in charge, they have resources that they can link families to. So that's going to directly help, the families, the parents, the kids, but also in our program at the Magnolia ILC and all the ILCs in the school district, we have these additional supports. So our focus is to help the students with their mental health and then focus on academics. So we have a social worker that our students can work with, right? And then we can refer out to additional mental health resources if needed. But we definitely just try to make sure that the student is okay first before we focus on academics, and then help the families as much as we can as well.
Next, teacher, what effect has ICE deportations have personally had on you?
In my classroom, I have seen students come in where they have, they're coming in and they're upset. They can't focus. They're not going to do good in school, or they're telling me their story because I'm usually asking how they are. And so, over the whole course of 17 years, I've had this experience with students, not just in the last 5 years. I have students where their whole family is gone and they're living with their tia. I see it all the time. A student last year, she went to go visit her grandma and she got to her grandma's house and everything was left open and her grandma was gone. And then she had to find out for her neighbor. So it's really hard because, of course, as a teacher, I have the teacher side of my job, but I really want to make sure that my students are okay. And I feel like it's a very unfair ask to be like, please do this assignment when they're struggling like that. So that's really my focus, is to make sure that they're okay as people, as much as they can be, And so then we do the other parts of the job.
Thank you for that.
How might the fear of enforcement affect the trust between residents and local institutions?
So like local institutions, you mean? Like
schools, governments,
Yeah. Well, I think when people are afraid that they're less, you would hope that they're more likely to reach out, for help. But I think a lot of times people tend to pull back and they're not likely to ask for help unless they really, really trust that somebody's going to fully be on their side. So before and always, currently in the future, we're trying to be a safe place. But I think that families are less likely to maybe go ask for help, even of the school. So we don't Sometimes we don't know why people aren't attending. I can't communicate with families. And I think sometimes it is because of that. Or in my program, we go out and we go to homes and we try to dress very casually. We try to make sure our colors, we're like wearing bright colors. We have our ID on us all the time, and we are there to offer resources because we have families that don't want to open the doors for us, and we're always like, we're here for a positive reason. We want to say that Alize is doing great. We're not here for something else that's negative. And I see it in that aspect, but I think it probably expands to, all parts of the community.
Yeah.
Do you think ICE operations make residents less likely to call the police when they need help? Why or why not?
I mean, I think it kind of branches off that last question where I think, families are in fear and they're going to kind of stay close together and stay indoors. What has your experience been like? With like your family or your friends' families? What do you see?
Yeah, they likely wouldn't call for help or even leave to like any grocery stores like nearby because they're scared.
Yeah. I know of some students that are like, they're getting donated gift cards for groceries to be helpful. And then sometimes they're afraid to use the gift cards. And so a lot of times people are using like DoorDash and stuff like that to get it delivered, or they have a friend that's doing that. But I mean, it's great that the community is stepping up like that, but it's scary that people don't feel comfortable to go and get basic needs.
Yeah.
That will be closing our discussion. Thank you, Ms. Metcalfe, for coming and talking with us. Bye.